Joining me now, chairman of the Ethics Committee and national co-chair for President Biden's re-election campaign, Delaware's Democratic Senator Chris Coons. Good to see you, Senator.
Thank you, Kira. Great to be on with you.
Well, let's start with federal prosecutors advising of a possible second indictment now for the former president, this time over classified documents. Trump says he's a target by a weaponized DOJ and FBI. Is that fair to say?
Well, it is not fair to say that he is the target of a weaponized DOJ. I will say this is far from the only investigation or potential liability in the courts that our former president faces. To me, this sharpens the contrast with President Biden, who continues to make progress as our president, to sign into law bipartisan legislation, to move us forward as a country at home and abroad. I hope that most of your viewers are just tired of the chaos associated with our former president. And, you know, look, being notified he's the target does not mean definitively he will be indicted, but it is a significant step.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Not sure how tired voters are, since right now it's the former president, Donald Trump, that's the front runner when it comes to the GOP pool. But let's get back to the classified documents here. Let's not forget that President Biden and former Vice President Pence were also in possession of classified documents. You've said that this isn't the same thing. Why not?
Well, the response of former Vice President Pence and President Biden when they became aware that inadvertently classified documents had been retained as they left office and transferred to their homes, their actions were to promptly reach out to offer to allow a full search and to fully comply with the requirements of the law. Former President Trump, on the other hand, claimed he had disclosed all documents and fully cooperated, but he didn't. He concealed them. He continued to refuse to fully cooperate in practice. And that's really the core difference between the classified document handling issue as it related to former Vice President Pence and current President Biden and former President Trump, how they responded once it was brought to their attention.
Okay, let's move on to President Biden. You are the national co-chair for his re-election campaign. The latest polling actually shows a broad 68% of Americans right now say that he's too old for another term as president. And as we have witnessed a number of uncomfortable moments, most recently falling on stage during the Air Force Academy graduation, some Americans say that his age is a real issue here, Senator. What do you say to that?
President Biden has also said, yes, this is an issue to discuss in the campaign. But he's also said, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. His real record of accomplishment, the seasoning that he's got from decades of service in the Senate as vice president, allowed him to be remarkably successful in his first 2 years as president. Former President Trump, who is roughly the same age, who also had some mobility challenges when he was president, promised that he would sign into law a fix to our bipartisan infrastructure challenges. He didn't. President Biden did. Former President Trump promised that he would address prescription drug prices. He failed to. President Biden has. He said that he would strengthen us on the world stage. Instead, he engaged in a series of ham-handed misfires, his love affair with Kim Jong-un, the dictator of North Korea, while President Biden has pulled together the NATO alliance, our Western allies, gotten them to significantly contribute to the cost of the war in Ukraine against Russia, and I believe strengthened us on the world stage. So I think the record's clear. There is a real benefit to having a president, President Joe Biden, who has decades of experience dealing with the Senate and crafting bipartisan compromises and dealing with events on the world stage.
Okay. Taking into account that you say he's seasoned and he has had decades of experience, given his age and given this poll number, 68% of Americans, how do you respond to the critics who question his mental acuity and if he could even finish a second term?
Kira, I've had the opportunity to spend time with our president recently. There is nothing to these challenges, these suggestions that somehow he's not sharp and he's not capable. Just look at what Speaker McCarthy said about the very tense, very difficult, very important negotiations over the bipartisan budget deal that President Biden just signed into law. Speaker McCarthy commended President Biden for his agility in negotiations, for his grasp of the underlying subject matter. I will say that in my encounters with him, he's sharp as a tack. So I'm not concerned about this. I think the whole point of having an election is to allow the American people to look at his record of accomplishment in the White House as president. Based on that, he should easily be reelected.
Finally, you have reintroduced bipartisan legislation on oversight of social media. Tell us what you're proposing here.
So the Bipartisan Platform Accountability and Transparency Act, which a group of 6 of us, Democrats and Republicans, have just introduced, would open the algorithms that drive social media so that we'd be able to look under the hood. The Surgeon General just said recently that he believes we are in the middle of a national crisis of mental health among young Americans because of social media, because of the ways that platforms like Instagram and Facebook impact the self-sense of our young Americans. We should understand this. This bill would allow for balanced academic research into these algorithms and help us better target regulation so that we can both continue to have an innovative modern economy where social media is an important part of that and understand the harmful consequences of social media on our country, on individuals, on families, and most importantly, on our children.
Yeah, as a parent of young twins, I'm extremely concerned about social media. Senator Chris Coons, appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Kira.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.